Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Monday Motivation Spotlight. I'm Lesley Kaplan, welcoming you here every single Monday with an inspiring guest. And for those of you that are new, or this is the first time that you're watching this podcast, the Monday Motivation Spotlight, was started after October 7th. In fact, it was started about a week after, with the aim of inspiring and motivating us, which we desperately needed and still need at the time. And almost 2 years later, we're still in it, especially this week. We've seen images, just hard to believe we're still in it. And the other aim of the Motivation Spotlight podcast was to give exposure to inspiring business owners, nonprofits, and individuals, special individuals who are making a difference to our very special country, Eretz Israel. So before I introduce my guest, and a very special guest, and actually guests, two of them today, I wanted to just thank our sponsors. We're in a new month, so thank you to our sponsors, Egan & Cohen Insurance, and to Lali's Flower Boutique in Jerusalem. So without further ado, I'm going to now remove my spotlight and spotlight our VIP guests for today. Here we go, and I will introduce them as we are talking. So good morning to my very special guests, Aharon and Miriam Botzer. Who are Aharon and Miriam Botzer? They're the founders of Livnot U'Lehibanot. And as we spoke about behind the scenes, even though Miriam wasn't the official name on it and she has another profession, she's been super involved and just as much involved in the founding of this fabulous nonprofit. I've been in Israel 35 years, and from when I made Aliyah, the name Livnot was already familiar to me. So let me tell you a little bit about who Aharon and Miriam Botzer are. They founded it 45 years ago in 1980. So wow, that's a wow. And what does Livnot U'Lehibanot do? Many of you, I don't even need to introduce it, but I will say it for those of our viewers that are watching or are not familiar with it. The meaning is to build and to be built. And it's a nonprofit that combines hands-on volunteering, hiking, spirituality, and Jewish learning for young adults seeking a connection to their heritage and to Israel. They have a beautiful campus in Tzfat, which is close to their home as well. Aharon was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. He'll tell us about his travels through Latin America, which is what he says sparked his journey for self-discovery, and which what led him to Israel. He also proudly served in the reserves in Miluim until the age of 56, which is incredible. Sadly, Mishpachat Botzer had a loss this year with their son Eliezer while serving in the IDF Reserves, and we all send our condolences and our feelings and our thoughts to you on your sad loss. So for the past year and a half, besides the amazing work that Livnot has already done and is already doing, they have also been helping war-evacuated residents from their homes in the north and the south in terms of restoring projects. They're very hands-on. As Aharon told me before, we officially connected the wall that we see behind them. I'm so used to seeing that wall and saying Jerusalem wall, and they corrected me that this was the Tzfat wall, very much a Tzfat wall, which he built with his own hands, which is incredible. And just before I stop talking, I just want to say on a personal note that my husband and I were also very, very privileged to meet the Botzers in person 3 years ago. Total Anshe Chesed. They opened their homes to everybody. We met, it was literally just before Sukkot. They found out we were going on a vacation. We were going to be by ourselves for Sukkot in the guest house that we were staying, where we had a sukkah. And they said, no, you can't be by yourselves. You must come and join us for a Sukkot meal. And we had a wonderful, wonderful meal. And there we actually saw firsthand the amazing stuff that they're doing, because when we got there for lunch, they had a whole group of Livnot U'Lehibanot, probably about 15 people sitting in their sukkah, actually taking part in their activities. So I couldn't be more honored to invite these pioneers to our amazing country to be guests. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Please share with us your Aliyah story, how it all started, moving forward, and anything you'd like to share.
So you asked me to say something about myself, and Miriam will say something about herself. First of all, thank you very much, Lesley. I'm very honored to be here and to be able to share our story. And this is the first time I've ever done it, so forgive me a little bit. My mother, who I learned a lot from, she had a characteristic that I adopted, and that's by
Inherited.
I inherited of getting emotional when I talk about things that are very personal. And so I do that often, but since everyone who works with me is used to it, so you're going to have to get used to it a little bit. Okay, anyways, I'm from Cleveland, as you said. My mother always told me that she kept kosher until I was born. And I grew up, like a normal conservative, I guess, Jew of going to shul once a year and Hebrew school and getting thrown out of Hebrew school because I was a troublemaker. My Judaism kind of arose when I was a wrestler in high school and in college. And my first time on the mat as a varsity, I was put in place of someone else to wrestle 2 weight classes above my weight class. And, because it was going to be a for sure lose, this was against a team that was always state champs. Everyone was a state champ there in Ohio, and they put me there. And in the middle of the mat, in the middle of the match, the guy said, "You dirty Jew." So after that, the only thing I remember is the next day there was an article in the paper that I picked him up 3 times and threw him down, and I won the match by like a lot. Anyways, that was my first wrestling match, and that's kind of the beginning of my Judaism. Afterwards, I took it a little bit more serious. I went to college on a wrestling scholarship, by the way, and in 1969, the riots against Vietnam. Thank you. I was at American University, and it closed down. And so, because it closed down, I decided to go to Central America and hitchhike, because I did a lot of hitchhiking throughout my life. And I stumbled upon it was raining very hard, and I went into a monastery on a hilltop outside of a city called Morelia, a big village. And the priest there asked me if I could possibly organize a bunch of volunteers to come and help them out, because they were supposed to have a group like Peace Corps coming from the States, and they canceled last minute. So I went to Oaxaca, the American University in Mexico, and I organized like 6, 7 volunteers. And we went to a village, and we were asked to put chimneys in the houses, because the average age was like 30 or something, because they're all dying from tuberculosis, because the houses were filled with smoke. So they gave us the pipes to put them in. We did it, and a couple of days later, we saw that everyone's they stuffed them up. They closed them off. Why did they close them off? Because they prefer to have flies.
They prefer to have smoke and not
smoke.
The flies.
I'm sorry, they'd rather have smoke than flies. And about dying at the age of 35, that didn't bother them as much as the flies bothered them. So I learned something from that you can't put your values on someone else. Anyways, a year later, I went back. They asked me to come back. They asked me to organize another group, and we went to a village, which is like a 3-day walk on a path up a mountain. And I gathered together, like once again, 6, 7 people. And we went together. They want us to build a bridge. Now I have a little bit of experience in building from growing up. And so they had to get some cement, which came on donkeys, which also took another 2 days. And so all the other people left. And one of the girls that was with us, she left a book, The Source by James Michener. That's the book that did it.
There's a chapter in it on Tzfat.
There's 2 chapters on Tzfat, but the book isn't really about the Jews. It's about the tie between the divine and the land of Israel. How everything that happens in Israel is is part of the divinely inspired, whether it's the Crusaders or the Romans or the Greeks, and Tzfat was used as the example, and that very much connected me to Israel. Anyways, the last night there was and people aren't going to believe this, but it happened. There was Northern Lights in Mexico, and that kind of led the light for me to go. What did I say?
You saw the light.
So I decided to come to Israel. The first time I came to Israel, I was like 20 years old. My little brother taught me Hebrew beforehand, the alphabet, and when I came, it was during Pesach. Now I knew one of the experiences I'm not going to talk about that you're going to have to hear later, but it's because I have a lot of experiences like this. I happened to spend a little bit of time in a jail in Panama, which you don't want to be in Panama, in a jail, because no one there knew why they were there and how long they were getting to be there. But while I was there, I taught Bible. I had a book, the World Bible. So I knew a little bit I was more interested in Taoism and Hinduism than in Judaism, but people wanted to learn about spirituality. And so when I came to Israel, it was Pesach. And I thought that everyone is making pilgrimage to Jerusalem. So that's what I did. I walked to Jerusalem, and I thought that the roads were going to be filled with people, but of course I was the only one walking. And I got a little map from the airport, which is about 6 inches wide, and I walked, along the road, what was probably the Burma Road at the time of the founding of the state. And anyways, that was the beginning of my travels in Israel. My most influential time was in Kibbutz Eliyahu, which was very much helped to mold me. I first went to a non-religious kibbutz, and that wasn't for me. That's not why I came to Israel.
Well, actually, if you want to, Aharon's Journey to Judaism is a podcast of its own. So we're going to skip a few chapters of his journey and come to Tzfat.
Okay, so
Right.
when I came to
And the
Tzfat,
beautiful house that you built, but I guess that was afterwards.
yeah,
Yes, we're up to that now. Okay. So Aharon arrived in Tzfat in 1974. And that was actually the same time, parallel time that I arrived for the first time in Israel. I'm Miriam, and I was born and bred in the Bronx, and I came from an Orthodox, very, very Zionist home. My father was a Holocaust survivor, and America was very good to us, as he said, all the time, but our homeland is Israel. So I arrived in 1974, and my first Galilee trip to Tzfat, I just found myself facing Mount Meron. Didn't know what the mountain was at the time, but I just said, this is it. This is the view that I want to have the rest of my life. I'm going to build my house here. I'm making Aliyah. And my friends with me had a good laugh. But about 2 years later, when I was already studying occupational therapy in Jerusalem, I arrived for the second time in Tzfat. It was Purim of 77. And I was going to getting my trying to remember there was no GPS at the time, so reading the instructions of how to get to my friend's house that was living there. And I came to a place which was even closer to that view. And I said, wait a minute, this is what the view I want to have the rest of my life, and turned around and saw this ruin. And I said, that's the house I'm going to fix up, and I'm going to live here. Well, little did I know that I passed right by the house that I will be living in for the rest of my life. Aharon had at that time, as a single, purchased a house in Tzfat, purchased a ruin. Now, it was such a dilapidated structure that he had to give up his dog because it was not fit for a dog to live in. It had no windows and an outside shower. He learned to build and restore from Reader's Digest home manuals and hiring two professionals that he was their helper for about 6 months and then let them go. He was a school teacher and a tour guide at the time. And at night he was restoring his room, and by night and by early morning. And the old timers in Tzfat, the Ziknei Tzfat, fell in love with him, but they were really concerned. Like, you're so busy that you're never going to be able to find a bride. And he says, don't worry, the right woman will walk right in here. And that is actually what happened. And the first question I asked him, I said, like, wow, this place is amazing. But it's so big and amazing. And what are you going to do with it? So he said, I'm going to either create a type of a Jewish youth hostel or have 10 kids. I recommended that he do the first, but we have along the line, we had 7 beautiful, amazing children, many wonderful grandchildren, and a few great-grandchildren.
Okay.
And
So,
Tzfat, one second.
yeah. Sorry,
Aaron, but Tzfat has always been a spiritual stopover for people that attracted travelers. And at the time, most of the travelers that were coming were people who are on Kibbutz Ulpan, and this was their only Israel option. It was either going to the Kotel and being brought into a yeshiva, or Kibbutz Ulpan. So Aharon, even as a single person, he would always invite people into their home, Jewish or not, for potluck Shabbat dinners. And when we were married, that our full Shabbat table, with planned and unplanned spontaneous guests, continued. And in 1980, as a result of listening to all these people's questions and feeling the lack of options in their Israel experience, we just naturally started Livnot ULehibanot, to build and be built. It was to provide a non-denominational, non-coercive opportunity for the non-affiliated Jew to explore his or her identity in a hands-on experience.
Okay. So since I don't have very much time left, let me just kind of skim through and say a few things about Livnot. That the goal of Livnot has never changed, of trying to attract people who come to Israel because they're Jewish and want something more than just having a fun time. And that's what we emphasize on. The center of Livnot is Shabbat. Shabbat and Tzfat are very much connected. Our terrace, where we do Kabbalat Shabbat, about 15,000 people had their first Kabbalat Shabbat. And we did a study once, 41% of people from short programs. In long programs, it's a lot more, but in 2000, we started having, 1992, we started having 3-week programs after doing 3-month programs for 17 years. And those, almost everyone celebrates Shabbat now. Something unique about Livnot is we're not Baal Tshuva. We're not trying to make people observant. And one of the reasons why so many people are observant is because we don't push at all. And we recommend people go in the direction that they want to go to and not necessarily become Orthodox. One of the main facets of Livnot is not just to create an experience, no matter how long it is, that's going to expose them to experiencing Shabbat, but also trying to give the foundation for continuing afterwards. The volunteer program, which we've been doing volunteering since the beginning, the motto of Livnot is to have professionals working along volunteers. Right now we have 25 professionals, and with volunteers, not enough volunteers. We need more volunteers. We have amazing projects right now. We're working also in the Otef, in the Gaza border, and also mainly in the north right now, and in 5 different kibbutzim. I have to stop looking at this. Anyways, what we're doing, amazing projects. Mainly what we've done over 360 projects since the beginning of the war. We were asked to come to the Gaza Strip by the army because they knew what we did 18 years ago after the Second Lebanese War. There we were asked by New York Federation, Palm Beach Federation, to do a program to fixed bomb shelters, because most of the bomb shelters were not in the north, were not usable. And so we did 220 bomb shelters over a year. We had like 750 participants. And then we recreated, which we had before Birthright, an organization called Alumot, which all those that are on the call from Livnot also participate in Alumot. That's where most of the several hundred couples met, was not during Livnot, but afterwards in Shabbatonim, in retreats, on hiking. Now we're hoping to recreate Alumot. We're talking about a partnership with Repair the World. But that's
the main reason for starting Alumot is that Livnot is not just an Israel experience program. It really is for many people, most people, it's the beginning of a life's journey.
Okay. But what's unique about Livnot is a lot of things. First of all, the work that we do is actually building. We don't do agriculture. I mean, we've done agriculture, but it's a whole different thing of working in kindergartens where everyone, all the mothers come and visit us every day, and they bring their kids to show them what the kindergarten is going to look like. And we do old folks' home. In fact, this week we're working in Kibbutz Kfar Giladi, which is where the Shomer started. And the Shomer, the farmers that would go out and guard
by horseback
and guard the communities. So in Kfar Giladi, and we're going to go in this week with the group that we have, and they're going to go make the stables into a senior citizen meeting place. We have a group this week which is from Masa. They were coming for a week. They were in Israel for 3 weeks already, and they're coming to us for the 4th week. And this is one of the things that we do. We want to do it more. And the first 3 weeks they were here, every weekend they had off from Thursday night till Sunday morning. And here they have a full Shabbat experience, which is amazing what we do here. We did Shabbat for Birthright. We did Shabbat for Onward Israel. And we're now doing offering a 3-day Shabbat experience for $50. That's what we raise money for, to have programs. I think let me.
We only have a few minutes left.
So let me say one thing. Last week we have a piece of property on Livnot that we purchased in like 35 years ago. And we excavated it. It was all buried underground, thank God, because no one else wanted it. And we got it for almost nothing from the government. And we uncovered a whole neighborhood from 500 years ago. And once again, it was declared a National Heritage Site. And just last week, it was declared a National Heritage Site again. And they want us to do something on the 18th and 19th century about the Aliyah to Tzfat. Originally, it was focused on the Spanish expulsion, the Spanish that came to Tzfat, and which we want to do something about that and about the Inquisition and whether that could ever happen again in the Inquisition. Of course, it can't. Right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. But now we're also doing something, they asked us to, about the Hasidim in Tzfat. There were 42 Hasidic synagogues, and we're going to do something called the Chechel Nigun, the tune, the auditorium of every Hasidic sect had their own tunes, and we're going to be doing something about that now. We have anyone who comes to Tzfat, if you go get a lachuch, the Yemenite pizza, which was right across the opening of the visitor center at Tzfat, that's ours, and that's the route down to the Kahal, the 16th century village. You go down 7 levels underground with a sound and light show on the way, a meeting with 4 Kabbalists that you meet that give you a little bit fantastic things, including one Kabbalist you never heard of. Her name is Franziska Sauer, and you never heard of her because she's a woman. And she was one of the famous Kabbalists in the time of the Ari. And
you meet the Ari, Joseph Caro, Alkabetz,
and Francisco. And you end up you go down 7 levels, and you end up in the 16th century at Tzfat. Also, anyone who comes to Tzfat on a Shabbat, we do a free tour, usually with a Yosef Stepansky, who's a choker of Tzfat, a researcher of Tzfat, and it's fascinating. We do it for free, whoever wants to, and
so also the connection between the programs, the educational programs, and the Bet Kahal is absolutely Livnot U'Lehibanot, to build and be built, because one of Livnot's core value is to teach and preserve Jewish heritage and providing the individual with the opportunity to discover their own personal connection to their roots in a hands-on way.
Yeah, we believe, first of all, when we talk about spirituality, we're not talking about learning Kabbalah. I mean, although we definitely touch on that, but we believe that, first of all, we believe that every Jew has in his DNA something, okay, I'm going to end. Let me finish this.
Finish your sentence. We're good.
Okay, so every Jew has in his DNA something that he inherited from 3,000 years ago when he was in the land of Israel, and we try to bring that out. And spirituality is not necessarily meditating on your belly button. Spirituality is, to us, is finding meaning in life. That everything that happens to you has a meaning and has a purpose, and you have to find your purpose in life. That's what we try to convey.
And you're definitely doing a fabulous job of that.
Let me just
in addition to spending a wonderful Shabbat at you. Sorry, what did you want to say?
So Lesley, the reason that we're here is because you met us, as you said, at a wedding of someone who did the program 35 years ago, 40 years ago. And we're in touch with the overwhelming majority of the people who did the program in the first 20 years, because we were a lot more involved. But Tzfat is a place that everybody comes back to visit. And we want their kids to come back and visit. So all you chevri that hear me,
we're looking for partners in what we do. We don't want to be the only ones doing it. So
right, that's what I was going to just say. Firstly, how can people volunteer? How can people donate? Whoever's watching live, it is written in the chat. But if you want to just say out loud for those that are watching the recording, in terms of you requiring donations, volunteers, how can people get in touch with you? What's the best way? What is the biggest thing that you're requiring right now in terms of resources?
Michal has put that. Yeah. Michal has put all of that in the chat. So you just take a look at the chat and you can see how to contact us. And when you walk into the visitor center, you will see the publications that we have put out, but Learning Under a Tree, Judaism and Nature, a Tu B'Shvat companion, because we really promote Tu B'Shvat because that's the one holiday where Jews can get together and you don't get freaked out by all the do's and don'ts. You can just have a fun time with fruits.
We do Tu B'Shvat every, let me say, we do Tu B'Shvat. We do Tu B'Shvat every Seudah Shishit and Livnot. The participants put on skits on the different fruits, and they're really cute and funny and learning. Yeah, okay.
Wow, incredible.
Our Livnot Zmirot book, songbook, which has transliteration in it, explanations that helps you through a Shabbat meal.
Wow, definitely, definitely. The truth is, I remember as well, not only about what I said about our personal visit to your sukkah, but also on another occasion, spending a Shabbat there before I knew you personally, and actually bringing in Kabbalat Shabbat on the rooftop that you mentioned, looking at the amazing view. I remember that just the entire superb atmosphere and environment. I also remember one of the things when coming to your house, the beautiful Netilat Yadayim, including the beautiful house that you've created and built with your own hands, but the very special Netilat Yadayim area, which I didn't know until you told me that Aaron had actually built it. So you guys are definitely pioneers. I couldn't have thought of anyone better to have as a guest for my Monday Motivation Spotlight right after Tu B'Shvat, this period of introspection, building and rebuilding. And it was an absolute honor and pleasure to host you. Yeah, we could have definitely run for a full hour, but this podcast is 30 minutes. So anything else, we're going to have to wait for our favorite journalist to write an additional article.
Leslie, one more sentence. If you remember coming to Tzfat, you saw a lot of people, but they were all religious. We feel that non-religious people also ought to have a spiritual Shabbat when they're in Israel. If they're going to come all this way, that they should go see what Shabbat is. And that's what we do, and that's our expertise with people this is their first time. Okay.
Right, absolutely. And I couldn't imagine a Tzfat without Livnot ULehibanot. You are such an integral part of the city. So thank you so much to Aharon and Miriam Botzer, founders of Livnot U'Lehibanot, an integral nonprofit in Israel, building our country, building our land. We look forward to hearing more from you. Continue doing the amazing work that you are doing, you and your amazing team. It was our pleasure. Anyone that wants to reach you, just look up Livnot U'Lehibanot online and you'll be able to get access, if you're watching the recording, to their different pages. So we've reached another end of a Monday Motivation Spotlight. I'm Lesley Kaplan. Thank you again to our sponsors, to Lali's Flower Boutique in Jerusalem and to Eggert & Cohen Insurance. And thank you again to our amazing guests and everyone behind your fabulous program. Am Yisrael Chai, may we have only peace, basarot tovot, thinking of our hostages and wishing them a safe return, and of course thinking of our soldiers and everything that they're doing for us. Bye-bye. Thank you again
Thank
to
you
Aharon
very
and
much.
Miriam. Have a good, safe day.